Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. In this one we're looking at the Logitech MX Vertical mouse. Now I was very skeptical about using vertical mice, and when it was possible for me to review Logitech's, I thought we'd give it a go and see if it's going to be as bad as I thought it would be. Now I'm going to leave you on a bit of a cliffhanger, give you my opinions right at the end of the video, but for now let's take a look at the box and what's included. So being that the product is called an MX Vertical mouse, you guessed it, it's going to be vertical. This is using a 57-degree angle, which is a much more natural position for your wrist to be in. Say for example you just rest your hand on the desk, it's going to be at a similar angle to that, unlike using a traditional mouse where you actually have to rotate your wrist a little bit to use it. Just takes a little bit of pressure off your wrist and gives you a 10% reduction in muscular strain. Now that may not sound a lot to begin with, but over time that's going to be a lot of stress on your wrist, and if you have problems such as RSI, or you already have existing problems in your hands and wrists, this is going to help ease that and give you a much more comfortable experience when using your mouse. Now you can connect this mouse with the unifying receiver all by Bluetooth. It also supports Flow, which allows you to pair up to 3 devices and seamlessly switch between them. It's also got a 4000 dpi high precision sensor as well, which can give you 4 times less hand movement to reduce the muscle fatigue. Also got a nice quick adjustment for the DPI on the top of the mouse as well. Now one thing that's really grabbed me about this is the battery. 3 hours of use from this mouse just from a minute's charge, and it actually goes for 4 months on a full charge. Apart from the mouse and the unifying receiver, you do get some other bits as well, but first a quick Easter egg. So you get instructions as well as a nice USB-C cable. Very happy to see USB-C on this mouse. It also has a nice little Velcro tie wrap on there as well. So onto the main article itself, the vertical mouse. Now a few little things to mention before we go around it. You can see it is quite a chunky thing. Now there is essentially quite a lot of empty space in the mouse because you're shifting the switches to obviously a vertical position. There's a lot of space that needs to be taken up to allow your hand to rest at that angle. It does make it look a lot heavier than it is as well. It's very light, so you could carry it around with you no problem at all. But just because of the nature of the mouse and the design, it is going to be a little bit chunky, especially when you look at it from the side. So as I did say, this is using USB-C. Absolute pleasure to see that on this mouse. I think USB-C should be a thing for everything nowadays, so it's nice to see that they're including this on the vertical. Also where the fast recharge rate comes from as well, you being USB-C, you can put more power through it. Very impressive to be able to charge it for a minute and get 3 hours out of it. Absolutely mind-blowing. So taking a walk around the mouse, where your left thumb will be, you do have a back and forward button. These can be remapped in the Logitech options software to whatever you want. There's a whole host of different things there. Just in front of that you've got a small LED which indicates charging, and when the device is full it flashes when it's in charge, and then when it's full it will stay solid green. On the rear of the mouse we've got a nice textured back. It's certainly a lot smoother than it appears on camera. Really nice texture, very nice to have your hand around. Obviously at the front we've got the 2 left and right click as well as a scroll wheel. You can invert the way that scrolls should you wish to do that. You also have a middle button on that scroll wheel as well, but there isn't any left or right movement. In terms of branding, there's just a very simple Logi logo on there, which I actually really like. Very minimal design. Then at the back we've got a quick DPI switch. Of course you can remap that in the software to whatever you fancy. Not very much going on the bottom of the mouse. Obviously the sensor, a power button, and then the option to go between the 3 profiles. Okay, so obviously it's going to be a little bit of adjustment. It's even mentioned on the box actually, from going from a normal mouse to this one. I thought it was going to take me hours. It actually took me about 20 to 30 minutes. Really quick adjustment, and after you kind of get used to the fact that you're moving the bottom of your wrist, unlike having it flat and moving it like that. Kind of hard to explain, but it was really easy to adjust to, and now I can use it flawlessly. When I get into the office, start using it, no worries at all, no adjustment or anything like that. So I was very surprised in that regard. I thought it was going to take me a lot longer to deal with. Now I have been playing around with grips and things like that. You do have to put a little bit more pressure, kind of with a clamping motion like a lobster, just so you're not dragging your hand along the desk. Obviously if you're going to be using a mouse pad it's not too much of a problem, but a wood floor you might have a little bit of uncomfort after a while. So there's a little bit of adjustment in terms of kind of gripping it properly. Now of course if you use a high DPI you won't even have to move your arm, you can literally just move your wrist as well, so there's that element you could work into it as well. Now it's very slidey as well. I'd probably recommend using a mouse pad for a bit more precision. I'm using this just on a wood desk and it's fine to use on there, but it does move around quite a lot, so if you want to do more precise work I'd recommend putting a mouse pad underneath. So I'm going to change things up and give you the criticisms of this mouse before the positives. No real reason, but I thought we'd do it a little bit differently. So I'd like to see the ability to store the unifying adapter in the mouse itself. Now that being said, it does have Bluetooth, so if you're taking it around you could just connect with that. I know it's not really going to be a concern for most, but there's certainly room to do it, being that there's a plastic shell with a lot of empty space. I just think they missed a little bit of a trick, especially for someone that might want to use this when they're going commuting, for example. Now if you're someone that needs to do a lot of click and drag options, maybe you're doing things in Excel or maybe even Photoshop with it for example, you may find a little bit of difficulty with the clicking and dragging at the same time because you need to put sideways pressure while you're moving. It's a little bit tricky to do, certainly easier with a normal mouse, but this one's obviously designed to take pressure off your wrist, so if you're someone that needs that, then you will have to deal with it. But for the majority of things, if you're doing it occasionally, it's not too bad. It's just when you need to do it on a more frequent basis, then it becomes a little bit more apparent. Now the only other niggle I have is just the price. Currently about £89 on Amazon, which is rather steep. You can get more affordable options, be it they are of a lesser known brand and just micro USB to charge rather than USB-C. But if you're a Logitech fan, you know they do build great products. They do last a long time, so you do get a bit of a trade-off with paying that premium. So onto the positives of this mouse, which far outweigh the negatives. Obviously the first point is going to be the most obvious. It is a vertical mouse, so it does take a lot of pressure off of your wrist. The last video I edited with a traditional mouse later in the day, as I did with this one with the vertical mouse, which was also later on in the day, and I found a massive difference in hand fatigue. So using the vertical mouse, no stress on my wrist, didn't have to pause or anything like that to take a break just because of, you know, the angle I was working at. Just much more enjoyable and more pleasurable experience to actually edit with. Now if you're someone that obviously has hand or wrist problems in the first place, then this is definitely something that's going to be on your interest list. Then that's going to give you peace of mind knowing you're not going to get any wear or fatigue on your wrists just because of the ergonomics of the mouse. So in that regard, I can't say enough about it. Even if you're someone that works long hours in an office and you don't have any wrist problems, I'd recommend it just purely for the lack of fatigue that it gives you over a long period of time. Other notable features, the unifying receiver again is just bang on. I haven't had any problems with dropping out or any latency issues or anything like that. I always find the unifying receiver to be really quick and snappy without any problems at all. This isn't any exception to that. If you do want to go to Bluetooth as well, that also works great. You can swap between them as well pretty easily. Just as a quick note, the USB unifying receiver does override the Bluetooth. So depending if you want to use Bluetooth on your laptop, for example, then just take out that receiver. But you can use different profiles if you're using different systems. There's also the flow option as well if you want to go between two systems. So lots of different options there. And then the battery, absolutely superb, up to 4 months. I can't really give you an accurate time because I haven't used it for that long. I've got lots of other mice that I need to test as well, so I can't really do a longer term review. But Logitech are pretty good, pretty precise at the battery life that they give you, and I wouldn't hesitate and say that it's not going to be right. They are pretty accurate with what they state. Now this isn't going to be a mouse for gamers by any means, but you do have a good DPI range up to 4000. That starts at 400 as well, so you're definitely going to be able to get a setting that works for you no matter what kind of screen you're using. But overall, a solid performer, be it a little bit expensive, but the USB-C connectivity and the Logitech build does add that little bit of a price premium. But as I did say, Logitech are a really great company, so for a lot of people, it will be worth the extra. So if you want to get one of these mice for yourself, I will put a link in the description box below. If you have any more questions, please leave me a comment and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. If you enjoyed this video and you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and ding that notification bell so you don't miss an upload. A big thank you to Logitech for sending this out for me to review. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.